There was no other alternative. There was no other choices. I had used every contact I had pulled every string, I had burnt every bridge, I had destroyed everything around me. When I was quite young, about 9 or 10, my parents got a divorce. I was quite angry and I had a huge temper and things would trigger me off at school. Before I knew it, I was dabbling in cigarettes and alcohol, and it just escalated from there. I started taking harder drugs. I got introduced to pills, cocaine, and LSD, and that's when the drugs really got serious. At that time, I was with a girl, and she fell pregnant. But I was nowhere near ready to be a father. I was still very young. I was lost. It even got to a point where I wasn't even taking the drugs, and I was still hallucinating and still tripping. So my answer was to get out of South Africa, start again, try something new. A lot of my friends were in the UK, so I thought to myself, let me go. I had a British passport. Went to a hostel in the middle of London, which turned out to be quite a drug-infested hostel. I came home from a party, I was on pills and cocaine, and I couldn't sleep. I was just drifting. It was a horrible experience. I was very, very tense. And the person came to me and says, well, why don't you have a sniff? So I took a line thinking it was more coke or ketamine or something like that. And all of a sudden, I just went from a complete rage high to a neutral low. And I was shocked. I was like, what is this? This is insane. And they're like, no, it's heroin. And then you just take a step back like, whew. It really is an amazing drug. The way that it makes you feel and the effects of it, you can see why it's so addictive. And it just got to a point where that's all I wanted. Before I knew it, I'd escalated to a proper drug addict when it came to heroin. I couldn't hold down a job. I found myself in squat houses, and there was one point where there was this girl that was taking drugs in front of us, and we were all injecting heroin. I had seen that she was overdosing. I saw the froth in her mouth, and instead of doing anything to help her, I just looked in her pockets. I took the money and I took the drugs, and then I left, and I didn't care. I thought to myself, I need to go to South Africa. I need to go back home. It was very quick before I found heroin in South Africa. I was a dealer at the time in the clubs. The drug life and stuff in South Africa, it's hard, it's hectic. And the drug lords there, the Nigerian syndicate there, they don't play games, but they catch you. What they do is that you come and you have money and you spend money, and then when you don't have money, they give you credit. And before you know it, you rack up huge amounts of money. I got to a point where I owed the Nigerians thousands and thousands and thousands of rands. At one point, they called me up and they said, no, don't worry, we know you owe us money, but just come with a little bit of money and we'll give you some drugs for a few days and then we'll sort you out. So I went down there and then all of a sudden they pushed me up against the wall and they put a gun in my mouth, and they were like, if you're not going to pay us money today, if you're not going to sort it out, then your girlfriend that you're with, she's going to pay for it. She's going to do what she has to do to make us the money. We didn't go down the road, but it was very, she could have, and I would have let her and she would have done it. And you get to that point where it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. You just need the drug. I'd come to a point in my life where I knew that either I would overdose on heroin, the Nigerians were either going to kill me, or I would end up in prison for the rest of my life. And I had used every contact I had pulled every string, I had burnt every bridge, I had destroyed everything around me, and that was my final solution, was one of those three options. My dad had been trying to help me on and off for all through the time, so I just thought I'd owed him to phone him and just say, you might not see me again. And he said to me, just wait. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't have the answer, but all I know is I need you to come to Botswana with me. Before I left, I decided, I had no more money, but there was one guy that knew me, but I managed to con the guy. And he gave me thousands and thousands of rands worth of heroin. And I took it, went straight to the bus station, got on the bus and went to Botswana. When I arrived there, I realized that I'd been taking a lot of drugs this time. I had a lot of drugs that I had stolen. It was an experience that I knew was going to be really tough. So I started to come off the drugs. It was probably the worst time I'd ever experienced. I was lying on the floor, I'd thrown up, I'd urinated, and I was shaking uncontrollably. I mean, to me, my life was over. My life was finished. And I just remember crying out, and I was like, God, if you are there, help me. And I remember my father coming down one morning. I hadn't slept that night, and he was all perky and ready to go. And he's like, okay, I'll see you later. I'm going to church. All of a sudden, I was like, can I come with you? I don't want to be alone. And he kind of took a little step back, and he was like, yeah, sure. I mean, previously I'd gone to rehab, I'd been to church, and everyone was saying to me, you need to change. You know, you need to stop smoking, you need to stop drinking, you need to stop sleeping with your girlfriend, you need to stop swearing, you need to this and the 101 commandments, you know, thou shalt not do everything. And I was like, I can't stop doing this. This is who I am. I'm a failure. I've failed miserably. If I could stop, I would have stopped, but I can't. But when I had heard this pastor, he just shared something completely different, and it really resonated with me because it spoke to where I was. He said to me that, you know, the Lord loves me for who I am. He loves me the way that I am. And all that the Lord was telling me to do was just surrender myself. Just come as you are, with all your weaknesses, with all your failings, with all your broken relationships, with everything that you are, come. Inside me, I said, yes. If this is you, then I want to give you a chance. And then the next morning, when I woke up, I couldn't explain it. I'd never felt anything like that before, but I knew something was different. I went to one meeting and I just had this overwhelming feeling of the person that I was and the sin that I had in my life and the people I had hurt, the relationships that I'd broken, the relationships with my parents, and it was a very heavy feeling. I went forward and I broke down at the altar and I repented before the Lord, and I said, Lord, you know, everything I've done, you have just washed it away. Everything that I had been and everyone that I had hurt, you've just taken it away. When I left that place, I felt like a whole burden had lifted from me. Slowly, I started to see my life changing. It had nothing to do with my efforts or anything that I had to do. Today, I look back at everything that I was addicted to and everything that I was caught up in, and I'm completely set free. He's brought me to a place where I can be a productive person in society. I can hold a job. I have a family. The Lord has blessed me with a wife. He's blessed me with children. He reunited me with my child that I had when I was very young, my son. So he's living with me now. I'm looking after him. We're building a relationship. His heart is unbelievable. He's got no hatred towards me. He's got no bitterness towards me. He loves me. And that's a blessing that I could never ask for. I have a life. I have a beautiful wife. I have children. And I can honestly only give God the glory for what He's done.